Hello everyone, my name is Visalhounuo. In this video, I'll be explaining on autoclave. An autoclave is a large pressure cooker. It operates by using steam under pressure as the sterilizing agent. High pressure enables steam to reach high temperature, thus increasing the heat content and killing power. Most of the heating power of steam comes from its latent heat of vaporization. An autoclave is a machine that provides a physical method of sterilization by killing bacteria, viruses, and even spores present in the material put inside of the vessel using steam under pressure. Autoclave sterilizes the material by heating them up to a particular temperature for a specific period of time. The autoclave is also called a steam sterilizer that is commonly used in healthcare facilities and industries for various purposes. The autoclave is considered a more effective method of sterilization as it is based on moist heat sterilization. Coming to the parts and components, first is the pressure chamber. The pressure chamber is the main component of a steam autoclave consisting of an inner chamber and an outer jacket. The inner chamber is made up of stainless steel and gunmetal which is present inside the outer chamber made up of iron case. The autoclave used in healthcare laboratories have an outer jacket that is filled with steam to reduce the time taken to reach the sterilization temperature. The inner chamber is the case where the materials to be sterilized are put. The size of the pressure chamber ranges from 100 liter to 3000 liter. Next, come to the lid and door. The next important component of an autoclave is the lid or door of the autoclave. The purpose of the lid is to seal off the outside atmosphere and create a sterilized condition on heat inside of the autoclave. The lid is made airtight via the screw clamps and asbestos washer. The lid consists of various other components like pressure gauge. A pressure gauge is present on the lid of the autoclave to indicate the pressure created in the autoclave during sterilization. The pressure gauge is essential as it ensures the safety of the autoclave and the working condition of the operation. Pressure releasing unit or whistle. A whistle is present on the lid of the autoclave is the same as that of the pressure cooker. The whistle contains or controls the pressure inside the chamber by releasing a certain amount of vapor by lifting itself. Next is safety valve. A safety valve is present on the lid of autoclave, which is crucial in cases where the autoclave fails to perform its action or the pressure inside increases uncontrollably. The valve has a thin layer of rubber that bursts itself to release the pressure and to avoid the danger of explosion. Next is steam generator or electrical heater. An electrical steam generator or boiler is present underneath the chamber that uses an electric heating system to heat the water and generate steam in the inside and the outer chamber. The level of water present in the inner chamber is vital as the water is not sufficient. There are chances of the burning of the heating system. Similarly, if the water is more than necessary, it might interfere with the trays and other components present inside the chamber. Next is vacuum generator. In some types of autoclave, a separate vacuum generator is present which pulls out the air from the inside of the chamber to create a vacuum inside the chamber. The presence of some air pockets inside the chamber might support the growth of different microorganisms. This is why the vacuum chamber is an important component of an autoclave. Next is wastewater cooler. Many autoclaves are provided with a system to cool the effluent before it enters the draining pipes. This system prevents any damage to the drainage pipe due to the boiling water being sent out of the autoclave. Coming to the working principle of this autoclave, the autoclave works on the principle of moist heat sterilization, where steam under pressure is used to sterilize the material present inside a chamber. The high pressure increases the boiling point of water and thus help achieve a higher temperature for sterilization. Water usually boils at 100 degrees Celsius under normal atmospheric pressure. However, the boiling point of water increases if the pressure is to be increased. Similarly, the high temperature also facilitates the high rapid penetration of heat into deeper parts of the material. And moisture present in the steam causes the coagulation of proteins, causing an irreversible loss of function and activity of microbes. This principle is employed in an autoclave where the water boils at 121 degrees Celsius at the pressure of 15 psi. When this steam comes in contact on the surface, it kills the microbe by giving off latent heat. The condensed liquid ensures the moist killing of the microbes. Once the sterilization phase is completed, which depends on the level of contamination of material inside, the pressure is released from the inside of the chamber through the whistle. The pressure inside the chamber is then restored back to the ambient pressure while the components inside remain hot for some time. Procedure or operating of the autoclave. In general, an autoclave is run at a temperature of 121 degrees Celsius for at least 30 minutes by using saturated steam under at least 15 pressure. The following are the steps to be followed while running an autoclave. Before beginning to use the autoclave, it should be checked for any items left from the previous cycle. A sufficient amount of water is then put inside the chamber. Now the material to be sterilized are placed inside the chamber. The lid is then closed and the screws are tightened to ensure airtight condition, and the electric heater is switched on. The safety valves are adjusted to maintain the required pressure in the chamber. Once the water inside the chamber boils, the air-water mixture is allowed to escape through the discharge tube to let all the air inside to be displaced. The complete displacement can be ensured once the water bubbles case ceases to come out from the pipe. The drainage pipe is then closed and the steam inside is allowed to reach the desired level. Once the pressure is reached, the whistle blows to remove excess pressure from the chamber. After the whistle, the autoclave is run for a holding period which is 15 minutes in most cases. Now the electric heater is switched on and the autoclave is allowed to cool under the pressure gauge indicates the pressure inside has lowered down to that of the atmospheric pressure. The discharge pipe is then opened to allow the entry of air from the outside into the autoclave. Finally, the lid is opened and the sterilized materials are taken out of the chamber gently. Coming to the sterilization control, modern autoclaves have devices to maintain proper pressure and record internal temperature during operation. Regardless of the presence of such a device, autoclave pressure should be checked periodically and maintained. Several methods are available to ensure that autoclaving achieves sterility. The effectiveness of the sterilization done by autoclave can be monitored by biological indicator, which is spores of Bacillus styrothermophilus, formerly called Bacillus styrothermophilus, are the best indicator because they are resistant to steaming. These spores are killed in 12 minutes at 121 degrees Celsius. The Center for Disease Control recommends weekly autoclaving of a culture containing heat-resistant endospores of Bacillus styrothermophilus to check autoclave performance. The spore strip and an ampoule of medium enclosed in a soft plastic vial are available commercially. The vial is placed in the center of the material to be sterilized and is autoclaved. Then the inner ampoule is broken, releasing the medium, and the whole container is incubated. If no growth appears in the autoclave culture, sterilization is deemed effective. Next is autoclave tapes. Adhesive bag paper tape, which is a heat-sensitive chemical indicator marking the change color or display diagnosed strips. The word sterile or autoclave when exposed to effective sterilization temperature, that is 121 degrees Celsius, are used to check the efficacy of autoclaves. These tapes are placed inside and near the center of large package because high penetration in those areas ensures proper heat penetration. For example, when a large piece of meat is roasted, the surface can be well done while the center may still remain unheated. And if the center is sufficiently heated, then it means the desired temperature is achieved. Autoclave tapes are not fully reliable because they do not indicate how long appropriate conditions were maintained. Next is thermocouple or Brownies tube. Thermocouple is a temperature measuring device that records the temperature by a potentiometer. Brownies tube, invented by Albert Brown in 1930, contain a heat-sensitive red dye which turns green after being exposed to certain temperature for a definite period of time. Conversion of dye color gives information about the duration of time and temperature. Types of autoclaves are: first is pressure cooker type or laboratory bench autoclave. These, as domestic pressure cookers, are still in use in many parts of the world. The more modern type has a metal chamber with a secure metal lid that can be fastened and sealed with a rubber gasket. It has an air and steam discharge tap, pressure gauge and safety valve. There is an electric immersion heater in the bottom of the chamber. Next is gravity displacement type autoclave. This is the most common of autoclave used in laboratories. In this type of autoclave, the steam is created inside the chamber via the heating unit, which then moves around the chamber for sterilization. This type of autoclave is comparatively cheaper than other types. Next is positive pressure displacement type. In this type of autoclave, the steam is generated in a separate steam generator, which is then passed into the autoclave. The autoclave is fastened as the steam can be generated within seconds. This type of autoclave is an important over the gravity displacement type. Next is negative pressure displacement type. This is another type of autoclave which contains both the steam generator as well as a vacuum generator. Here, the vacuum generator pulls out all the air from inside the autoclave while the steam generator creates steam. The steam is then passed into the autoclave. This is the most recommended type of autoclave as it is very accurate, and this is also the most expensive type of autoclave. Uses of autoclave. Autoclave are important devices to ensure the sterilization of materials containing water, as they cannot be sterilized by dry heat sterilization. Because autoclave are used for various other purposes. First is they are used to decontaminate specific biological waste and sterilize media, instruments, and labwares. Next is regulated medical waste that might contain bacteria, virus, and other biological materials are recommended to be inactivated autoclaving before disposal. In medical lab, autoclave are used to sterilize medical equipment, glassware, surgical equipment, and other medical waste. Similarly, autoclave are used for the sterilization of culture media, autoclavable containers, plastic tubes, and pipette tips. Precautions of this autoclave are: although autoclave are pretty simple to use, there are certain rules of precautions to be followed while operating an autoclave. Some of the important precautions to be followed while running the autoclave are: first is autoclave should not be used to sterilize waterproof or water-resistant substances like oil or powders. Second is the autoclave should not be overcrowded and the materials should be loaded in a way that ensures sufficient penetration of articles by the steam. The item to be autoclaved should always be placed in a secondary container. Only autoclavable bags are to be used to autoclave packaged waste. To ensure sufficient penetration, articles should be wrapped in something that allows the penetration of steam, and materials like aluminum foil should not be used. The items placed inside the chamber should not touch the side of the top of the chamber. The waste and clean items should be autoclaved separately. Attempt to open the lid when the autoclave is working should never be made. Liquid components should never be autoclaved in sealed container. The liquids inside the container should only be filled 2/3 of the total volume to prevent the spilling of the liquid. Plastic or polyethylene trays or containers should not be used as they might melt and damage the autoclave. Besides, never autoclave flammable, reactive, corrosive, toxic, or radioactive materials, household bleach, or paraffin embedded tissues. The paper should not be placed directly inside an autoclave as it is a combustible substance. It should be autoclaved in a waste bag on a bio bag setting to prevent fire.